Bienvenido a una nueva emisión del programa Entrevista de Cubavision Internacional. Las relaciones entre Cuba y Vietnam han trascendido la prueba del tiempo. Hoy nos encontramos precisamente acá en la Embajada de Vietnam en La Habana. Desde hace 65 años, nuestros dos pueblos son hermanos y han desarrollado múltiples acciones de colaboración en diversos ámbitos, basados siempre en el legado de Fidel Castro y Ho Chi Minh. A propósito del aniversario 65 de vínculos diplomáticos entre las dos naciones, conversamos hoy de manera especial desde la embajada con el señor Quang Long, embajador extraordinario y plenipotenciario de la República Socialista de Vietnam, acá en La Habana. Una entrevista que será un poco atípica porque, la realizaremos en inglés. El embajador aún está aprendiendo español, lo cual es todo un orgullo para nosotros. Welcome, Ambassador. Thank you for this interview. It's a pleasure for us. Ambassador, the relationship between Cuba and Vietnam has deep historical roots. And the figures of Fidel Castro and Ho Chi Minh, like I just said right now, are central in this history. How will you describe the impact of their legacies in strengthening that friendship and solidarity between our two nations?
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to have an interview with Cubavision, especially at a very important moment on the occasion of the 65th anniversary of the diplomatic relation between Vietnam and Cuba. And this year, we have chosen 2025 as the year of friendship between Vietnam and Cuba. And especially at this moment, we are going to celebrate the 99th birthday of the Commander-in-Chief, Fidel Castro. So when we talk about the relations between Vietnam and Cuba, we are very proud to see that our relations have been established and nurtured by our President Ho Chi Minh and the Commander-in-Chief, Fidel Castro. And the relation has a very solid foundations because, both our President Ho Chi Minh and Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro, they share the same vision and the same aspiration, that is to struggle for national independence. And our President Ho Chi Minh has a very famous saying that nothing is more precious than independence and liberty. And Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro has also a very famous saying, Patria o muerte, the fatherland or death. So this similarity in the thinking, in the ideology of the two leaders laid the foundation for a very, very solid relation between our two countries. That's why, although Vietnam and Cuba are very far away, 1,000 miles away, but according to our President Ho Chi Minh, he said that Vietnam and Cuba, although we are 1,000 miles away, but we are like brothers and sisters in the same family. And for Vietnamese people, when we think about Cuba, we always think about Fidel Castro. And for Vietnamese people, and for the Cuban people, when they think about Vietnam, they always think about President Ho Chi Minh. And I'm very happy when I came here in Cuba, and when I met people in the streets and they asked me where I'm from, when I said I'm from Vietnam, they always told me that, oh, Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh. So that is very, very encouraging signals of the affection of the Cuban people to Vietnam. And also when you are a Cuban people, when you come to Vietnam, if the Vietnamese people know you are Cuban, they always tell you, oh, viva Fidel, viva Cuba.
Yes, is that their legacies are just the root of our relation in all these 65 years. And exactly, Ambassador, this year marks that 65 anniversary of relations between our two nations. What special events and activities, both in Cuba and Vietnam, have been planned to commemorate that? Also, the 100 years of the birth of Fidel Castro. And how will these efforts help uphold the example of Commander-in-Chief Fidel?
Actually, right from the beginning of this year, our embassy here in Cuba and also the embassy of Cuba in Vietnam, we have begun to prepare for like a lot of activities to commemorate the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations in these years. For example, in Vietnam, the Union of the Communist Youth of Vietnam, they also like launched a competition of painting for Vietnamese children who paint pictures about the friendship between Vietnam and Cuba. And here also, our embassy here, we cooperate with ICAF, the Institute of Cuban Friendship. With,
Instituto Cubano de Amistad con los Pueblos.
We also organize a contest, a competition of drawing and writing for the Cuban children in primary and secondary school in all provinces and cities in Cuba, with the name Vietnam-Cuba, a borderless friendship. And we are very happy to receive a lot of paintings and writings from the children in all over cities and provinces in Cuba. And also, we held like a photo exhibition of the 65 years of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and Cuba during the visit of Mr. Nguyễn Xuân Thắng, the bureau member and the director of the Ho Chi Minh National Institute Academy of Ideology of Vietnam in May. And also, according to the cooperation between the Commission of Propaganda of the Central Committee of the Party of Vietnam and the Commission for Ideology of the Cuban Party Committee, we agreed to translate many works of leader Fidel Castro in Vietnam, and we will translate into English, into Vietnamese, and into Spanish.
Great job.
Yeah, and in September, we are also going to prepare for the visit of the first Secretary of the Party Central Committee and the President of Cuba, Mr. Miguel Canel, to Vietnam. And during the visit, we also hold the meeting in Hanoi to celebrate the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and Cuba in Hanoi.
It's a great list. So, Ambassador, amid a challenging global economic landscape, Vietnam is now Cuba's second largest trading partner. So, how is your country contributing, in your opinion, to the socioeconomic development of the Caribbean nation, our nation? And what are the priority areas of this collaboration? For example, what can you talk about the Memorial Special Development Zone?
As you mentioned earlier, Vietnam now is the second biggest trade partner of Cuba in Asia. And Vietnam is also the top foreign investor in Cuba, in Asia. At present, we have 7 projects of the Vietnamese companies operating in Cuba. And these companies, they are operating in the manufacturing of consumer goods, of construction materials, in solar energy and agriculture. We are very, very happy to see that despite the economic difficulty in Cuba at present due to the economic blockage by the US, but Vietnamese companies still pay attention to Cuba and they are happy to come to Cuba. And before, there were only 3 or 4 projects of Vietnamese companies, but now the number of the projects have reached to 7, and I'm sure that this number will be bigger in the coming years. Our company here, with very popular name like Vigacera or Taiping or VMA Agri, and I think that their production and their manufacturing in Marian Special Development Zone is very important to the economic development of Cuba because they provide all the consumer goods and materials to the Cuban market, and they create jobs for the local people. And in Marian Special Economic Zone, we have a very important project by Vigasera, that is V Marian. V Marian is an industrial park. That means they build the infrastructures in an industrial park of 256 hectares, and they will lease these sites as factories to foreign investors in Cuba. And I think it's very important to attract foreign investment into Marian Zone. And at the moment, there are 2 Vietnamese companies already set up their factory in V Marian, together with some from Spain or Portugal. So I think that V Marian and the Marian Economic Special Zone will be more and more attractive in the future for Vietnamese company.
From your experience, how do you think that Cuba could, what job can Cuba do to attract more investment from Vietnam and other countries in Asia, for example?
I think that we have a very long-lasting relations and very close link between the people of Vietnam and Cuba. And that's why, although we are 1,000 miles away, although Cuba is now in a very difficult situation economically, but Vietnamese companies still come. It's a very encouraging signal. And I think in order to attract more and more Vietnamese companies to come to Cuba, it's very important to provide more information to the Vietnamese company so that they can have a better understanding of the Cuban market, the demand in Cuba. And besides, it is also very important that because of the differences in mechanism, the policy of each country, and due to the effect of the economic embargo of the U.S., we see that there may be some difficulties in the operation of the Vietnamese company here. And over the past time, we are very, very grateful to the government of Cuba for trying to eliminate the difficulties to facilitate the operation of Vietnamese company here. And so far, our company here are happy with their operation here. And I think it's very important that they will tell their experience to the other Vietnamese company. And as for the embassy, we are thinking of organizing a club of Vietnamese investors in Cuba, and also future Vietnamese investors who are interested in investing in Cuba, so that we can have like a forum and we can provide them with more information so that they understand better about the Cuban market and they will come.
Yes, the conversation is really interesting, Ambassador. We are just going to make a little break and we are coming back.
Yeah.
Cách xa nhau hàng vạn dặm, không cùng tiếng nói, không có chung văn hóa, nhưng Việt Nam và Cuba có chung một khát vọng độc lập, tự do, hòa bình và phát triển. Lòng dân hai nước gần gũi như anh em một nhà. Đó là hai trái tim nhưng cùng chung một nhịp đập. Được Chủ tịch Hồ Chí Minh và Chủ tịch Fidel Castro đặt nền móng, được vun đắp từ tình cảm, trí tuệ và sức lực của hai dân tộc, được thử thách tôi luyện qua những năm tháng khó khăn nhất của lịch sử. Quan hệ Việt Nam-Cuba trở thành tài sản vô giá và nguồn cổ vũ lớn lao cho sự nghiệp cách mạng ở mỗi nước.
continuing this interview with Ambassador from Vietnam in Cuba. Cuba and Vietnam, like you said, Ambassador, share strong ties at the governmental, party, and most important, people-to-people relation and levels. How are these bonds being strengthened through cultural, educational, and other exchanges in the actually?
I think that apart from the very strong relation between the party, the government, and the local government in Vietnam and Cuba, the relation between the people and people of Vietnam and Cuba have been very strongly promoted over the past years. For example, in the education, we have a very close and very strong cooperation in education, even in the past and at present. In the past, Cuba have Vietnam to train thousands of engineers and doctors. And now at present, every year, Vietnam and Cuba grants the scholarship for the students of the two countries to study in different areas like language or medicines or healthcare,
Communication.
communications, a lot. And now there's many like Vietnamese students studying in Havana or in other provinces in Cuba. And also we have see the signing of cooperation between the National University of Hanoi and the University of La Habana last year in July 2024. And also last year, during the visit of the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Justice of Vietnam, the Institute of Justice of Vietnam signed an MOU with the Raman School under the Ministry of Justice of Cuba. And what we want to continue to strengthen the foundation of our relation is that we should enhance the understanding of the young generation of the two countries. I think it's very important. It is a very important foundation for our long-lasting relations. And just at the beginning of this week, a group of 5 children of Nguyễn Choice School and 2 students who won the prize in the writing and painting about the friendship between Vietnam and Cuba. They are invited to visit Da Nang in Vietnam. And that is the initiative of our embassy. We coordinate with Da Nang City in Vietnam, and Da Nang City in Vietnam, they sponsor all the costs for the visit of the Cuban children to Vietnam. And we are very happy that this is the first time that we receive a delegation of Cuban children to Vietnam. Of course, every year we have hundreds of delegations at the level of the party, the government, the National Assembly. But this is the first delegation of Cuban children to Vietnam. And our embassy hope that next year we will continue to organize another one, because we want to have more exchange and understanding between the young generation of our two countries.
What can you say that Vietnamese people think about Cuban people in Cuba?
Vietnamese people, when they think about Cuba, they think of a very, very close friend, although we are very, very far away. And in Vietnam, many people, they haven't had an opportunity to visit Cuba. But for them, in their hearts, Cuba is very dear and very close friend. I heard many stories about the very special relation between the Cuban people and Vietnam. For example, before I came here, I met the Cuban Consul General in Ho Chi Minh City. She was in Ho Chi Minh City for about 2 years. And when she met me, she told me that she was very surprised, because when she went to the market, she bought something. And when she said that she's from Cuba, the seller, they reduced the price for her. that is very, very special, because whenever Vietnamese people they think about Cuba, or they know that you are from Cuba, they love you, their hearts.
Ambassador, you have talked about U.S. blockade against Cuba, and we know that Vietnam has been a steadfast supporter of Cuba in its struggle against the U.S. economic, commercial, and financial blockade. And how is this support demonstrated in practice? And what is Vietnam's perspective about the relations between Cuba and U.S.?
The consistent position of Vietnam related to the economic blockage of the U.S. against Cuba is that we always strongly support the resolution of the UN to call for the removal of the U.S. economic and trade and commercial embargo against Cuba. We speak at the UN meeting and in many different international and multilateral forums, and not only supporting Cuba in the multilateral forums, we also provide our support to Cuba in their struggles against the blockade of the U.S. government. We provide the help to Cuban with the rice, with many other consumer goods, and we call our companies from Vietnam to come and to invest in Cuba, because for Vietnamese people, solidarity with Cuba is our responsibility, and we always remember the valuable support of Cuba for Vietnam during our resistance and struggle for national independence. And we never forget the very famous saying of leader Fidel Castro: for Vietnam, Cuba is willing to give even our blood. So now we always stand by the Cuban people, and we support the Cuban people in their national development.
Ambassador, looking ahead, what are your expectations about Cuban-Vietnam relations in the next years? What do you think there's the most important of the measures to being taken to ensure that friendship between our countries?
I think that's based on a very solid foundation of our relations. So in the future, the relation between Vietnam and Cuba will continue to be strengthened. And we will try to expand our cooperation for the benefits of the two countries, of the two people. And, what is very important is that we should enhance the exchange of delegations of different level, from the party, from the government, and especially the people to people, so that we can maintain the close link between our two nations, between our two people. And we should find out more efficient ways to push up our cooperation. We should find out more practical projects for the benefit of our two countries, our two people.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your minutes, for this interview. It is a pleasure for us, for our team, to be here in the Vietnamese Embassy in Havana. De esta manera estamos poniendo punto final a nuestro programa Entrevista, como decía, desde la Embajada de Vietnam en La Habana. Ha sido todo un placer. Usted manténgase en sintonía con nuestras multipantallas.